Yo. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are you doing, sir? Jaden, what is up? I just say that because I don't know how to say your name. Mel Vitorn. Tony. Derek, happy birthday. Chad, Donna Swanch, good morning. Hey, it's good to see you multiple times, right? Crypto, Kobe. What's good? So we have some freaking awesome stuff tonight. Chad might actually be aware of a couple of these things that we're going to cover today because he listened to the Too Much Test podcast last night. But we've got a boatload of stuff. First of all, we're going to cover some lighter stuff, some absolutely ridiculous stuff related to meat and selling meat, right? Not necessarily crypto related, but this is going to be very short at the beginning. Also, did you know that there's a country that might make it illegal for you to turn up the heat in your house? Yes, absolute crazy shit is happening around the world right now. Then there was a funny little video that I wanted to share with you guys, but the meat of what we're going to get into is the chain list, Bungie, and some stuff on Binance and what is a ZK rollup, because I need to understand this because this is how the ecosystem in crypto is expanding in order to help with throughput. And once we gain a better understanding of what like a ZK rollup is, it gives us a much better idea for how things are going to move forward. But also, when you hear articles or people talking about a ZK rollup, you don't just be like, oh, a ZK rollup. What is that? That is a scaling solution, right? But you have zero understanding of what that actually means. Now, something like Bungie is if you've ever heard of Matcha, XYZ, or 1inch, you know how they aggregate order books for crypto, right? Well, what if there was an aggregator for networks so that you could always figure out how to get around online? In one way you can think about this is if you think of like a network as like different locations in the universe of crypto, like, Optimism or Polygon or Binance or Ethereum, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What if there was a way where you could put into a map that just told you, hey, this is where you're at and this is how you get to this other location? Well, Bungie is effectively kind of a map which you can use to get through wherever you want to in crypto. I mean, not all the places, but the main spots, more than 97% of people are going to want to go to. And then Chainlist is a awesome tool that allows you to get onto different networks much easier. You guys heard of Pulse Chain, right? Probably, if you're here. Or you can read and you can see this, right? But when you try to add that to MetaMask, assuming you're using that as your wallet, you pull up MetaMask and it's like, okay, you need to add the chain ID and you need to add the chain name and you need to add this other thing and you need to add this other thing. And there's, 5 different pieces of data that you need to put in there. And in order for crypto to really gain adoption, in order for crypto to become mass market, when I want to add a new network, like the testnet for Pulse Chain or any other network, I should not have to go in and enter in a bunch of different data that is all publicly available for different networks. That's B team, right? I should just be able to be like, okay, what is the name of the network? Okay, Arbitrum. Okay, I should just be able to click on Arbitrum and it's all done in the background. There is no point other than to slow down adoption to have these things in place. Well, Chainlist helps solve this. So these are some interesting tools that I want to hopefully share with some people, and you guys can do with them with what you will. The ZK roll-up stuff is very interesting. Hexacat, good morning. Maybe we can get together today or tomorrow. I think I saw your text message, but haven't responded yet. Let's go. Unsuitable. Good morning. How are you? I'm actually decided to switch up my schedule, and I'm only working out 4 days. Well, I'm working out 5 days a week, but 4 days on and then 1 day off, and then I work out again tomorrow. The first time I've done this in probably close to 10 years or quite a long time. So I'm liking this. By the time you get to Thursday's finish training, my central nervous system can sometimes be worn down, and the workouts on Friday weren't as high intensity and high quality as I would like them to be. So I decided to switch this up. This is week number 2 of doing this. I like it so far. Do not eat the bugs, my family. Yes, unless they're cockroaches, right? Yo, crypto compassion. Morning, Donish wants. We are going to get into something related to meat in a second. Good morning, Luna. Great to see you here again. Hex Noob. Good morning, Hex Noob. I don't think I've seen you here before, but if you have any questions, let us know about Hex in the comments there. Nicholas Reed, hello. No idea how to say this, but boom. Let's get into the show. But first, we will watch a little bit of this. So while this DeFi proof is playing, take a second. There's a little arrow down below, probably right about here, that it has a little arrow and says share. Press that button, then press the Twitter, tag me on Twitter, and share this out so we can share more information with everybody. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in approximately 1 minute and 8 seconds.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning. 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 Crypto in the morning.
Morning. Okay, so this is I just saw this from Hex Noob. Silver the Antidote is supposedly selling. If you have information, feel free to share it here or on Twitter. My Twitter's down below, and you can share it over there. Lots of interesting stuff happening right now. We have the Ethereum fork, right? So you're going to get free copies of all your tokens. Are you going to get a 1-for-1 dollar value copy? I don't personally believe so, but I do believe it's going to be between Ethereum Classic and Ethereum, right? So I think Ethereum's like 1,600 and Ethereum Classic is maybe like $60 or something like that. So it's still valuable, but it's not like if you have $100, you're not going to get $100 worth in the fork. Potentially, it could be higher than this. I don't know. We've got that going on, which is very, very interesting. We also have had something going on for centuries, right? If you and I were in a tribe, right, or something, 150 years ago, what would we do to survive? Well, we would be out hunting for food for our family, right, in our tribe, looking for, some type of animal to catch that we could eat, right? And then we would eat the entire animal, right? And this has been taking place for hundreds of years, where that is what we ate. We wouldn't go through and just chomp down on all the grass that we're walking through to find animals. We wouldn't go pick up leaves in the ground and think that that's an intelligent thing to shove in our mouth, right? We would maybe see bright red things or orange things in the trees, like oranges or apples or things like that. And we would eat stuff like that, or berries, right? But we wouldn't be going through and eating vegetables like the media is telling you. Well, this next story that we're about to get into is an exact opposition of this. And one of the things that I want to point out around this, this is a true story. This is not something that is inaccurate. This is 100% real. I didn't make this up. This came out a couple days ago. A Dutch city, so in the Netherlands, is the first city in the world to ban meat advertising. Yes, right. This is on this site, Eco Watch, right? Eco Watch, because people think that agriculture is somehow harmful to the environment. However, if you look at like transportation or energy usage or like heating and cooling and stuff like that, or many other things, they consume far more power than agriculture does. Or maybe just using a tiny itty bit of the functioning gray matter between your ears, you could realize that something like this, something that has sustained the human civilization for hundreds or thousands of years, is now being banned. This is idiotic. This is absolutely idiocy. Now, one way that I like to think about this, and I've switched my good morning to a couple of people who just joined, Hexagon Papa and Self-Sufficient Human. One of the things that how I like to think about this, I've switched to a carnivore diet with some fruit 4 or 5 months ago. One of the best changes I've made in 20 plus years of doing this kind of stuff. And one way, if you're like, oh, okay, carnivore diet sounds weird. Carnivore diet sounds strange, right? Like not eating any vegetables, right? And just eating some fruit and animal-based products. Well, you don't need to necessarily understand carnivore-based diet. You don't need to understand the nuances of how an animal-based diet can actually improve your insulin sensitivity, improve your blood sugar profile, decrease inflammation throughout your body, improve your hormone profile, not just testosterone, but other hormones throughout your body, right? But there's two things to understand. And if you understand these two things, then you could see that's all you really need to understand to be like, okay, cool, this diet is not working. Let me switch to something like carnivore. And I'm not saying you should switch. I made the switch, right? I'm loving it. The best change in my diet I've made in 20 years. Now, the two things that you need to understand are, first, what is the narrative put forth, right, in the media that you should eat vegetables, you should eat plant-based, you should be a vegan, right? You should be plant-based, vegan, raw, like dildo up your butt, all that kind of shit, right? Well, what is the other thing that you need to understand? And this is the fundamental piece here. The media, if you have not been living under a rock for the last 36 months or, your entire life, then you are aware that the media, first of all, doesn't have the North Star for reporting being the truth. What their North Star is manipulation and lying and getting clicks to get money. Period. That's it. They're just going to lie to you. So now when you take these two pieces, what is the narrative? What does the media do? Media lies to you. The narrative is eat plants. And you put those together, all you have to see is the media is telling you to eat plants. Anytime the media tells you that you should be doing something, there's a decent chance that shit is fucking wrong. Period. Sorry for my swearing. Sunrise Solstice, good morning. Camera gang, hello. What I've learned has a great video related to this. Eating less meat won't save the planet. Here's why. Yes, I completely agree. I'm reading this doctor's book on this topic right now. Heck, we got it 4 cents today. I've actually converted my entire Hedron, or all of my LP, all of my liquidity providing, from hundreds of dollars a day, multiple thousands per day on several days, to Hedron, because that's where I see the opportunity. I like LP because it's just money coming in every single day, but I really see the massive opportunity with Hedron. And given the pullback, right, given the decrease in price in Hedron, I see it as even a bigger opportunity. So I've converted, and I'm not saying that anybody watching or listening to this should do as I do. This is I'm a advocate for making money and investments to go up in value. And I see the investment in Hedron going up in value faster than providing liquidity, even at like $1,000 a day on average, and investing that. I see that as more valuable. And that is where I have transitioned over the last, week or so, my funds from LP positions into Hedron. I will be providing more LP. I've actually got something that I wouldn't recommend anybody else do, but it's related to leverage. I think that leverage in crypto, not a good idea personally, but leverage in fiat is a good idea. When you look at, like, I've read through the IRS's website on this related to how long, well, they don't really say, right? There's not a lot of clarification on how things in crypto land for borrowing are going to work, because it could be taxed in multiple different ways. And without more clarification from the IRS, I'm not a big fan of borrowing in crypto. And then there's the other thing on top of here. When you look at legal precedent, right? Like, you can get out of things differently. You know exactly how things are going to be structured if you borrow in fiat, where when you borrow in crypto, there's other inherent risks. Say for Hedron example, if you were to take an advance on an HSI in Hedron, right? So you have $1,000 HSI, say you could advance $500 on that with your Hedron. What is that effectively doing? You're borrowing against that, right? Well, what are you borrowing? You're borrowing a crypto, and this crypto is volatile. So that means that it would be like me buying this house, using a loan to buy this house. And as the market fluctuates, the amount that I owe on the house fluctuates. So if I buy the house and it's 350 grand and I get a loan on here for 275, and then the market changes and now the loan is worth $400,000, then that's just what it is. It's worth $400,000. And that is what it's like with you when you borrow in Hedron, assuming you sold that or use that for something else, right? You could actually borrow an arbitrage or like increase your returns without putting risk into it, which we can touch on later in the second half of the video, by using ICOSA to actually do that. We should do a separate example on that, maybe with some good, spreadsheets involved. Cameron Gann, they want us all to eat crickets, don't they? Yes, there's actually a cricket protein that came out a while ago. Sam, I'm plant-based vegan, and this artificially laboratory meat is the worst. Following the agenda will make you eat beyond meat burgers and cricket fillet. Yes. Why? If meat is so bad, right? If meat is so bad, and I'm not saying this to you, Summer Solstice, but if meat is so bad, then why are the people who are trying to tell you to not eat meat trying to make meat? Right? Like, what? If it's so bad, why are you trying to copy the original that's just fucking delicious as it is? And I'll continue to spread that my understanding of this. There's several doctors who have written books about this. Carnivore MD is a good resource for this. There's Dr. Baker something is the book that I'm reading, Carnivore Diet, right now. Antis Del Sol, good morning. Do you mean you have no LP stack anymore, or are you talking only about the fees collected? So thank you for the question. For quite a while now, well, several months, I've been doing LP. And when I would take the LP, so you set up an LP position, right? This is in Uniswap, and you earn fees. So when somebody swaps from coin A to coin B, or from coin B to coin A, I earn a fee of coin A or coin B. Now, I can withdraw those fees whenever I want. And when, obviously, you'd want the fees to be higher than the gas cost, or otherwise it doesn't make sense to do so. But you withdraw those fees. And I was taking that and I was buying other things. And then maybe 30 days ago or something, I started taking all the fees, and I started just every day, as long as it was making more than $500, which I don't, there's maybe like one day in the last like 2 months, maybe 2 days in the last 2 months where I made less than $500. I would take those fees and I would DCA daily into Hedron, right? And as the time went on, and I dove further and further into understanding what is going on in Hedron, what is going on with ICOSA, and that whole realm. And I've been tracking the number of holders of Hedron, the number of holders of Hex, to see which one is adding users at a faster rate, right? And currently, this morning, if you look over the past 10, 12 days since I've been tracking this, Hedron is adding holders. So these are not necessarily the number of new people, but it is the closest representation we have to that in crypto, right? Because I could have 3 addresses that all hold Hedron, and that shows up as 3 times and as holders, right? Well, if you take these into consideration, the same thing with Hex, right? Hex has like 310,000 holders. Hedron has just over 20,000. And the rate at which Hedron is adding new users or holders relative to the rate at which Hex is adding new holders, Hedron is adding new holders at 19x faster than Hex is. I'm sorry, Hedron is. Yeah, Hedron's adding new users 19 times faster than Hex over the last 10 days or so. That's astonishing. That's pretty fucking fast. And what do we know about price appreciation? It's from demand, period. Right? It's just from demand. Right? More people buying shit. If I went to, the Tampa area here, the Clearwater area, and I just started buying every single Tesla, or maybe that's a bad example, but maybe every single 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on the market, what do you think is going to happen? As the supply diminishes of those houses, the price is going to increase because I'm buying every single one of those things because the demand has just increased. Well, that is what's happening, right? The demand for Hedron is 19 times higher in terms of holders that are increasing their holdings of Hedron versus Hex. And when you look at where at least it is today, like what I think 5 zeros and a 3 something, there's a lot of opportunity, in my opinion, for price appreciation relative to LP. So I took my entire LP position, set it up in Hedron, and I think it was Hex. And then as it continued to come through my position, once it was all in Hedron, that's basically kind of like a range order. I removed the entire position and I've kept it in Hedron. I've continued to DCA from other funds into Hedron because that's how big of the opportunity I see this. Bobby Davis, what's Gucci? AJ, hey, great to see you, sir. Yes, you are running late. There's no excuses there. Variable rate financing is ridiculous, and that's what borrowing Hedron is. And borrowing in other crypto, like if you use Aave or like fiat.io, which will launch on Pulse Chain, it can get worse than borrowing with Hedron, right? Where your debt goes up in value. What if you have the scenario where you use collateral that is a volatile asset, not something like a stable coin, but you use something like Ethereum, right? Well, if you borrow a risky asset, say in the case of borrowing Hedron, and you have collateral that is a risky asset, both of these have volatility. That means you have volatility squared as risk. Volatility by itself as a risk factor is high in crypto. And then when you have it on both sides of the coin, it's fucking bananas. Like, highly don't recommend you using collateral that is risky and borrowing risky in crypto. It is just far too risky. Those same risks are not the case with fiat. Like, I'm going to be borrowing in fiat to put the money into crypto, right? That has a different risk profile than borrowing in crypto to do something else into crypto, because you have those factors that I just mentioned. Even if you use USDC and you borrow 50% of DAI against it, right? That's one way of doing it, right? To help reduce your risk, because then you have a stable against a stable to borrow there, and you could increase exposure there. But then you're holding USDC. Another way to do that would be borrowing this in fiat and taking that and putting it into here, where I'm going to be doing something similar to this. It's actually on my to-do list today to set up a loan for fiat, take that fiat funds, put it into crypto, a portion of it into LP, and I'll keep you guys updated on how this plays out, where the LP fees will, 50% of the LP fees will be converted to some type of stable, and I will utilize that to pay the bill, right? So I'll keep you guys posted on how all of this goes. The store I go to every morning to get coffee sells seasoned crickets to eat. It's ridiculous. Carnivore MD, Dr. something Saladino, probably saved life. Yes, I feel amazing. My mother has switched over to moving in the direction of animal-based diet and feeling way better. Another way to think about the animal-based diet is anti-nutrients are very poor for you. Like, anti-nutrient means that it's like stopping the absorption of nutrients, like actual nutrients. And there's been at least one study I've seen on this where I think it was oysters and beans. So they gave people oysters by themselves and they measured the zinc uptake and maybe one or two other vitamins or minerals in their blood. And then they did oysters and beans are just full of lectins, but you have like lectins in many other vegetables. You have oxalates or different types, even gluten is anti-nutrient. So all these anti-nutrients that are in vegetables that the society tells you to eat, right, actually reduces the absorption of the vitamins and minerals. Like in that oyster example, the beans drastically reduce the absorption of zinc and the other vitamins and minerals in there. Sam, what a good lesson. And need to look into that. Thank you. Another angle is all the chemicals required to make synthetic meat. Completely agree. It's processed garbage. The point of going vegan is to remove all the bad stuff. Seems to be a step in the wrong direction. I completely agree with you. I had to figure out about lectins first. I try not to eat anything vegetable, grain anymore. Autoimmune issues are gone. AJ, like the perfect example. AJ, fucking, you can talk to AJ. He's probably on Twitter and he's happy to share his results with you. I feel amazing. The best I felt in 20, like from a diet standpoint, you're not only like, oh, I gotta eat my shit again. You have these cravings for food that you think tastes better when you switch to carnivore and fruit, like all animal based. Like I'm gonna have a giant steak for lunch. You enjoy your food. Like I don't have a desire to go eat garbage. Cameron Gann, how much more upside for Hedron do you reckon is the fair value, right? So that's a great question. Getting to the fair value, I'm not sure Hedron is going to get to the fair value. I think it's going to trail. How much it's going to trail behind those. And I think there could be times where it goes past it briefly, right? Where you can actually arb it down. But I think that between understanding what's taking place right now with ICOSA and all that kind of stuff, if you guys are not aware, just from, I tracked this morning, so I'll put this in here and then we'll dive more into like the fair value piece of this. If you look at ICOSA, the number of people selling ICOSA so this one I just started tracking from yesterday to today. There was 5,034 HSIs that were sold to the ICOSA contract. And since yesterday, when I started tracking this, I think around 1 p.m.-ish till this morning, so not even 24 hours, there was 39 additional HSI contracts that were sold to ICOSA. This is increasing at a very fast rate, right? Almost at 1%, 0.77% per day. So like if you understand percentages and shit, like that's pretty fucking fast. There's about 1,200 holders. 1,200 is a very low number, especially when you put it into context of like Hex has 310,000 holders. ICOSA has 1,200 holders. So what does that mean? That and we're going to tie this into the camera again. the number of people that are aware of ICOSA and the ability for them to take their HSI and sell it through ICOSA is still very, 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 very low. And this number is growing at 1% a day. Since just from yesterday to today, it grew at 0.77%. That's a lot. Like if you annualize that, and it's compounding, that's over 400%, right? Now, there's a massive opportunity for the information in ICOSA to continue to proliferate. That just means continue to split up and more people know about it. As that happens and more people sell their HSIs to ICOSA, what does that do to Hedron, right? Because that's just how you got to put all these pieces together. If this continues at this rate, which I think it can continue at this rate for a while because it's so brand new, right? There's 1,200 people who hold, 1,200 holders of ICOSA, not even 1,200. I've been tracking that number too, but only for 2 days. 1,196 as of this morning, people holders of ICOSA. As the number of HSI goes up, what also has an exponential increase in its usage. Assume people actually want to buy T-shares. And given my understanding of this community, I think that's a valid assumption that people do want to buy HSIs. The amount of Hedron that is going to need to be burnt to buy 5,000 HSIs, and I think it's like nearly 50,000 T-shares, 49,000 T-shares. That's a fuckload of Hedron that is going to be burnt. A massive ton of Hedron that is going to be burnt. So I continue to purchase. I bought more Hedron yesterday. I bought more Hedron today. I will continue to purchase Hedron. I think that we have at least a 10. There's the opportunity for like can pull up the calculator to see based upon today's prices and stuff, but more than a 10x opportunity between current prices. What is the current price of Hedron this morning? Let's take a look here, and I'll actually be able to pull this up and share this with you guys. That's what I'm saying. 0.50395. So when we look at this, 395. I'll pull this up and show you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let me share my screen with you guys, and you'll be able to understand. And I'm not saying that you guys should do anything that I'm doing. I'm just sharing you how I'm actually thinking about this, right? There we go. So as of a couple of days ago, right? So this is actually 4 cents. I think Melvin Tony said that it was around 4 cents for hex price for a T share as of a few days ago. So this number here is only going to go up. So say if it's now this, right? This changes it slightly, right? And this number is going to continue to increase, right? X price is this, Hedron price is this, right? So if you think that like the fair values we're talking about, or the advanceable amount, that's like the upper limit of where Hedron can get to, right? Then that means when you advance that on the T-share at 55555, so this means you take 7,780 hex to get 1 T-share, which is 1,000 B shares. 1,000 B shares means 1,000 Hedron per day for 5,555 days. That would equal this price right here. All right, so this means that they would be equal. Above this price, there's an opportunity to profit. So Hedron is currently at 5 zeros and at 395. That means the differential between where we're currently sitting and that upper limit. And remember, that upper limit is going to continue to rise with the T-share rate. So as this, you can check this number right here. This is the amount of differential between where we currently are and that upper limit. It's 13.18. So say by the end of the year, this is 8,500, right? What does that do? That puts it at 1450, right? If hex comes down to 2 cents, it's still a 6.75x from where we're currently at. Now, what if So what if X goes to 8 cents by the end of the year? Excuse me, that's a 30x opportunity. And what if, say, hypothetically, Hedron doesn't go there, right? Say Hedron only moves up at a much slower rate. So it doesn't close that gap because there's still a lot of people who don't fully understand what is taking place. Well, that means that more Hedron is going to be burnt. And when you look at like the amount of Hedron that needs to be burnt to buy these versus how much Hedron's locked up in the ICOSA contract, right? Because multi hundreds of billions of Hedrons locked up there. And then there's also all of this that needs to be burnt. As this comes due in November, there's going to be, in my opinion, a massive amount of demand. And not saying that this is going to correct the price right away, but I believe within the next 3 to 12 months, it can make a massive difference. Rune, are you ever going to do a stream on LP explaining how you did it? Yes. Maybe next Wednesday evening. I would like to do another stream at 6 p.m. EST on my channel and get into more details about that. I just emailed or messaged Gifford on Twitter. So if you guys want him to come on and we can actually talk about that kind of stuff, I'm happy to do that. Or I can just talk about it myself. Hexanader, how are you dealing with impermanent loss in LP? Well, if you didn't catch the beginning, I've actually converted all of my LP positions currently. I'm going to be probably opening more up after I get this loan. But I've currently converted them all to Hedron because I am I want the most gains, right? And LP is fucking awesome. I love LP. I will be doing more LP. But when I just see the opportunity with Hedron, I'm like, there's so much opportunity there. Yes, I love getting hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day in LP. But the massive X's in Hedron are just too appealing for me. So I converted everything to that. But let's get into some of the other topics that we were going to talk about today. All right, we have Switzerland mulls over jail sentences for heating your home. Think about that for a second. This is just goofy, like what in the F is actually going on in the world? Imagine you are freezing cold and the government says, hey, biatch, you're only allowed to heat your house up to 75 degrees. And you're like, well, it's minus 10 degrees out, right? Which is where I'm from in upstate New York. You can get down to minus 10. And you're like, it's minus 10 out. Well, if you do that, just know that you can go to jail. Like, this is some really scary shit, right? Probably coming to a city near you. The next thing we want to take a look at, though, is the ability of this tool to actually help you find all of the information to add a network to MetaMask. Because currently, if you want to switch, say if you're on MetaMask and you want to add another network to MetaMask, what you have to do is you click on the top, then you'll click add MetaMask, and then you need to pull up all of this stuff here, which I'm about to show you. And think about how confusing crypto is to start with, right? And then you're trying to explain to somebody how to add another network to MetaMask. And you're like, yeah, just go to add another network and then fill out this shit. And they're like, what is the network name, right? What is the PRC URL? What is the chain ID? There's an indicator here that tells you what that might be. Currency symbol. You got to add all this stuff. That one's optional, but you got to add this stuff in there. Well, what if there was a better tool to be able to actually do this, right? And that's what this is. So Chainlist is awesome. This also works for test nets, right? So you can say if you wanted to add Pulse, right? Because Pulse maybe at some point next year will launch, right? So you can click over to testnet. You can go Pulse chain and look at this. Pulse testnet is up here to add that. So you can add that to MetaMask if you want to. But let me just show you how it actually works. If we go through here and we just pull up the different networks, we're going to add, why is this? Let's connect my wallet here. And this is Binance, right? So say we wanted to add Binance in there, but this is just an example to show you. You just click this. You won't be able to actually see this come up, but MetaMask comes up and it says, do you want to switch your network? You can just switch your network and you're done. And now you're connected to MetaMask. It's filled in all of those spaces in MetaMask for you to add this. This is how MetaMask should be structured to make this way, 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 way easier. You shouldn't have to be this complicated to add a new network to your MetaMask or anything along those lines. And just like that could be confusing to some people, it's also potentially challenging to switch from one network to another network. Say you're on Ethereum and you want to switch to Binance or Arbitrum or some other network. Then you got to find a bridge, right? And then you have to do all that. How does that work? How do you find the bridge to do this? Well, what if there was an aggregator that helped you put this together, which we're going to show you in just a second with Bungie.exchange. Penta Vision. Our current president, Burset, is young global leader from Klaus Schwab, Switzerland, and is more and more police state. You're in Switzerland? Curious to hear what your thoughts are on, the potential, legally they're allowed to put you in jail for, heating your house, right? That seems like it could be a rule that they implement over there, or a law. They are starting to cut power here in Oregon counties. They're stating it's to protect people from the potential storm conditions. Yes, right. Idiots. One of the things that the elite or the people in government are going to do is use scare tactics, right? Things that are going to be like, oh, you're hurting other people if you use this much power to do that, because that's all that they've got left. So just be cognizant of that. Oh, guys, say hello to my girlfriend, JJ. How are you, baby? Thank you for tuning in. Luna C. Point. This whole carbon neutral thing is a hoax. Yes, I agree with you. It's all about power. It is a war on all living things. You and I emit carbon. Yes, 100%. 100%. That's because the media is a joke. The media is literally a joke. They don't care about the truth, right? And they're just trying to purport a narrative based upon who's paying them, kind of thing. Benny, how are you? Good to see everyone alive and healthy on this glorious Friday. Keep on crushing, Sam. Your openness is amazing. Your way of thinking is awesome. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words. That is nice. So much fakery in the world today, but you guys always keeping it real. We only have each other at the end of the day. Yes, love all and help each other. That's the only way to actually move forward, is by actually helping each other, right? Because we're going to have the actual information, not what the fake media says or the people in government. Switzerland is the first time in history not neutral anymore. They put 185 sanctions on Russia. It's cool being in crypto though, because I can send money to Russia, no problem, right? We can do that with crypto. The concrete industry needs more CO2 as all cars, boats, and planes together in the world. Interesting. All 400 new media channels are owned by 3 people. Yes. It's awesome how based the stream is. It will eventually be taken down. Wouldn't be surprised if it was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was taken down at some point. I've already had one YouTube channel deleted, and a Twitter deleted, and TikTok's deleted, and Facebook posts limited, and all that kind of shit. So wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But let's dive back into Bungie.finance and what is it and how this can actually be helpful to people. I would like to go through and provide liquidity on PancakeSwap, right? The returns are going to be suboptimal, in my opinion, relative to Uniswap for a couple of reasons. PancakeSwap encourages education, and that is a big part of CZ, right? The guy behind Binance, which helps funded PancakeSwap. Big on education and making things easier and simpler for people, right? That, which is great, which is fantastic for adoption, right? That's going to help my bags. But what does that do if you think of like PancakeSwap versus Uniswap? Well, if there's more education on the PancakeSwap than there is on the Uniswap side of things, then people are going to use more PancakeSwap, which is going to drive down returns. So that's one thing. And then PancakeSwap does not have concentrated liquidity. So with the concentrated liquidity, you could have 100 grand given the same exact market. Like say if you provide liquidity at something on PancakeSwap, and say it's BNB and BUSD, which is their stablecoin. So you're using the Binance chain, which is like Ethereum, right? You're using BNB plus the stablecoin over there, and I'm using say DAI and Ethereum, and I have like 20 grand and you have 100 grand. I can still beat your returns just because I have concentrated liquidity. It's like a sniper rifle. It gives you more power, and that is not available over there. But I would like to get over there and at least test it out to see what it's like. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, how can you get over to Binance from Ethereum? We have Bungie here, right? So you can select it like this. So say I'm on Ethereum and I want to get to Binance, and I say I have USDC. Say we have $1,000. Right, let me connect my wallet. Okay, the wallet's connected. So what does this do? This gives you the different options for different bridges, which is dope. Think about this, guys. This is BUNGEE.exchange. So I can take, and it tells you the fees associated with each one. So this first one right here, right? This is $1,000 USDC on Ethereum using the multi-chain bridge to BNB. The gas fee is going to be about $5, and I'm going to end up with 99. So this is before gas fees, right? This is just based on the exchange rate, I believe. I'm going to be left with $990, $999.50 over here. There's also the hyphen bridge or the seller bridge, right? This is awesome. Same exact thing. So say if you were on, Optimism and you wanted to get there, then there's these bridges, right? That allow you to go from Optimism to USC. Binance. Or say you wanted to get to Gnosis from Optimism. There's the Hop bridge. This tool is freaking awesome. If you're thinking about using other platforms, yes. If you guys are also enjoying the show, make sure you press that like button and the subscribe button. Jump over to Twitter and say what's good as well. But this tool I think is awesome and can be utilized by more people who are trying to go from one network to another network. Sam, are you holding DAI over USDC? Yes, but I have USDC on Coinbase because I'm waiting for the money to clear. Once the USDC comes over, I will be switching. I'll be using that to DCA, right? The money that I'm bringing over. There's also, I did a video on this. Yes, a matcha for bridges, right? Exactly. This is dope. This is awesome. Matcha is an aggregator for market orders, and this is different. This is a little bit different. There's also something called Trust Token, and it's TUSD. That is a awesome way to get into crypto or out of crypto, where they just wire transfer it to your bank a lot faster than Coinbase. You still have to KYC, but it is it's a easier and faster and cheaper option. Luna, does Chainlink and Bungie break the link creating privacy? I don't think so. I'm not aware of that. There's probably privacy options on Binance, I would think, similar to Tornado Cash. If I think you watched yesterday, but Treasure is supposed to be coming out with something in the future as well. Going from BSC to ETH, I've used KuCoin to bridge over tokens. Interesting. So that's another way of doing this, right? So you could go through a centralized exchange, right? Go through KuCoin. KuCoin, I think, is like one of the better exchanges from like a not trying to take all your KYC and do all that kind of thing. They're more like on the outskirts of things, but you can effectively transfer your money to a centralized exchange. If they carry the other token you want, swap into the other token and then send it back to your wallet. But then you have to worry about like the centralized exchange. We had people on recently that told us when they sent the money to, I think it was Corey Costa, when he sent, I don't know, $25,000 or something to the exchange. They're like, sent him an email, said, "Hey, we're holding your money. Where did you get this money?" And they had to answer all these questions before they would even give him his money, right? So we all know centralized exchanges are just like, a little bit sketch or just higher risk. If you wire money from your bank to Coinbase, there's a 24-hour turnaround time. I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know. Now I have both options. Bungee is beta. Are you using it? I will be using it. I haven't used it yet, but if you know on Twitter, Profeta, he also has a YouTube channel, focuses on the Spanish community, I believe, with his crypto videos. He uses it, and he was the one who actually shared this with me. So that's actually how I found out about it. $500 in fees collected with $400 in permanent loss is a net profit of $100. Yes, it is. I completely agree. $400 in permanent loss. That's correct. People don't realize this. And one more thing that we want to get into really quickly here is the scaling solutions, right? There's roll-ups, there's zero knowledge proof things that I don't fully understand, and other things. So I figured I'm not the only person who doesn't understand a lot of this stuff around roll-ups, but let's see if we could get a better understanding together. And I found this video explaining ZK roll-ups, very, very simple, 3-minute long video where ZK rollup is effectively a scaling solution. So using something like this allows you to go from, say, where Ethereum is, where it's processing around 1 million transactions a day, whatever that comes out to per second, so that you could add multiple zeros to that. So instead of, say, 1 million transactions per day for Ethereum, you could get to much greater than that, with maybe 10 million and then 100 million transactions per day, right? Then you can start to steal a lot of the transaction volume from, say, MasterCard, American Express, all these payment providers that are just third parties that steal part of the bag, period. So let's get into this video and then talk about it afterwards.
Transactions. So here's the small visualization.
So he's going to go through a little visualization story about what a ZK rollup is, effectively. Very, very simple, and then we're going to talk about it.
Let's pretend for a moment that you are a bouncer at a nightclub in Dallas. That's right. This is you, the big brawny guy with the sunglasses. But you've got a problem. You've got a bunch of people who show up outside of the club that don't speak English, and they didn't bring an ID. However, your boss will accept the money from anyone, so he's willing to let that slide if someone can validate that these are all people that are of the age 21 and above. And your boss just happened on that very day to hire a guy that speaks, reads, and writes every single language on the planet. So we get introduced to a new workflow. Instead of you looking at everyone's ID and then you saying, okay, you are clear to go into the club. You are underage. You can't. What happens is all of these people who don't speak English and don't have American ID, let's just pretend for a moment that this is an actual scenario. They all show their ID to the guy who can read, speak, and write every single language on the planet. And then what he does is he gives you a nod if they're okay. And he just shakes his head if they're not okay. They can't go through. And you swiftly take them by one arm and throw them out into the streets. Now then, where's the zero knowledge in this? Well, very simply put, we'll get to that a little bit later. So in this example, we have a prover, someone who can say, okay, yeah, these guys are just fine, or no, these guys are not okay. And then we've got the validator, and that's you, the bouncer. And we've got blocks and transactions coming in the form of all these people that don't speak English. So in conclusion, this is one digital item, if even just a few lines of code, that do the verifying for the validators. The bouncer himself, here's the zero knowledge part, does not know the exact age of each customer approved by the translator, who is our verifier. So the bouncer is the validator, the translator is the verifier. When ZK rollups are ready on Ethereum 2.0, they will allow for a minimum of 1,000 transactions per second. And when Ethereum 2.0 is completely ready to go, that number could go above 100,000 transactions per second. If you guys thought this video was helpful, make sure you guys leave me with a thumbs up. If you guys have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments below. If not, just feel free to comment, because I'll try and seriously reply to everyone that I can. This is a small channel, and I appreciate.
And so that I thought this was super interesting, and how I view this is something that's actually taking place in my life related to taxes. So a ZK roll up, instead of saying that it's like all this information is needed on the blockchain, what is the essence that is needed on the blockchain? And the stuff that is not needed is able to be pulled back from the transactions or being stored on the blockchain, and it is processed at the validator level. I'm sorry, at the node level. There's another DYDX. It's a hybrid. I think they're switching to completely DEX style, like think Uniswap type thing, but more so for people who like trading. DYDX. And they're implementing something similar to this, where they're pulling their order book out, because you might get, like, say, 1,000 orders a second, or say 10,000 orders a second, but you might only have 100 orders a second that are actually processed because people change them, they cancel them, or whatever the case is. So by doing this, now this is how I think about that example to relate this. So I've got a couple of businesses, right? So I have customers that pay my businesses, right? Let's do this. They pay my businesses, and then that comes down to me. But because this is kind of like how the blockchain is. If you think of like me as the blockchain, right? And then you have people doing actions on there, and then these things are the transactions that are coming on, and they're being stored right here with me. Well, if I do it this way, right, there's disadvantages to doing it this way. But one thing that I can do is I can actually take this, make a copy of this effectively, and then we're going to call this business number 3, right? And now what I've been able to effectively do is go from where I was here, where let me get rid of these things, these arrows here, delete those. Still the same type of sequence happens, but now business 1 goes to business 3, business 2 goes to business 3, and then business 3 comes to me. Where you have this, the structure like this for myself, for my own personal reasons, is for tax benefits, because I'm able to pass the losses from one business and the gains from another business over through this way, versus if I send it to myself, it's disadvantaged. That's similar to how this actually works with the ZK rollups, where if you have all of this data just going straight to the blockchain, it clogs up the blockchain, right? If you have all of the customer interactions with my businesses that come through and flow to me, then the disadvantage is higher taxes. So how can I reduce taxes? Is by having the customer money coming in, going into my businesses, and then going to a third business, and then going to me. And that is effectively how you have the ZK roll up, from my understanding. Now, I'm not saying I'm fucking expert on this stuff, but I'm working at it and trying to gain an understanding. And as I do that, as I learn and as I get better, I'm sharing that with you guys, and hopefully this is helpful. Bird Dog, Sam interrupted, loving it. Hey, appreciate you, bro. Thank you for stopping in. Are you familiar with charitable remainder trusts? Not yet, but I just bought a book on trusts that I'm reading through. There's a lot of interesting stuff about trusts and what you can do and can't do. I'm about 1/3 of the way through the book on that. So there's a second edition I'll be getting to. Are you talking about a holding company? Yes, effectively a holding company. The holding company is going to hold my other two companies so that I can take the losses from one company and the gains from the other company, flow it into there. I can net them. Whereas if they come to myself, I'm not able to actually net them. If you guys enjoyed today's show, make sure you press that like button, the thumbs up button, the subscribe button. I'll probably be putting out more individual pre-recorded content too, on like more of a deep dive on topics. I would like to be getting back into that possibly this weekend or next week, where we have more deep dive into certain topics and understanding, like LP. Maybe do a 30-minute video where I'm just doing LP and that's all we're talking about. If you guys are interested in that, you can let me know on Twitter. There's also a link down below for that. But without further ado, we're going to end with some DeFi proof. Appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out, gonna get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hit